Nick Caserio is the general manager of the Houston Texans. At times, he sounds very robotic at his press conferences. This is why I have created a weird segment that we go to whenever he speaks called Robo Caserio, where we react to some of what Nick Caserio had to say and we translate what's really going on inside of him, because Nick Caserio, the man has not aged in 20 years. He is in great shape, and his robotic nature makes me wonder whether or not he is a robot or a man. It is time for another episode of Robo Caserio. Is he a man?
I'm not going to ask you about those mistakes. I'm just going to ask you.
Oh, you guys fucking talk about them all the time.
Or is he a machine?
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton.
Whatever the case, it will talk your ear off.
Quite frankly, it's bull.
And we're here to translate it when you space out.
Desire is irrelevant. I am a machine.
This is Robo Caserio. So I went through Nick Caserio's press conference yesterday. In his opening statement and 21 answered questions, he said 6,656 words, 302.54 words a statement. So that means he's talking at least 2 minutes with just about every single one of these answers. If you were to have turned all the things that he said into a double-spaced paper for college, it would have been 27 pages.
Oh, my God.
When he talks, he talks. He's very good at filibustering. Another reason to believe he might be an actual robot and not a human being. But he is getting slightly more human-like by the year. I think he realizes that he doesn't seem to have much of a personality. I think being on the Texans flagship has helped him out a lot on that front.
So he's learning how to say hasta la vista, baby?
He's learning how to say, frankly, it's bull bleep.
Yeah.
Or he's learning how to say the F-bomb. I mean, he's doing what politicians are doing these days. All of a sudden, everyone's cussing. He's cussing too. So in this press conference, I went through the whole thing. There were lots of questions about his process, which always feel kiss-assy. A lot of wordy questions. He was coy about trading up. He was coy about trading back. And he was asked 4 questions about offensive linemen and 2 questions about wide receivers and 1 about Tank Dell, who is making progress. What did Nick Caserio say that I thought was very noteworthy? Well, here's Nick Caserio being asked a very lengthy question about what the Texans might do at pick 25.
How comfortable are you guys right now at number 25? And where do you see this particular draft? Where do you see there's a drop-off in talent, maybe, per se?
Just in terms of what do you mean by being comfortable at 25?
Like, do you feel like there is uncertainty given that you're that far back, or do you all feel like you all have like a good group of guys that you all would feel good at number 25 if it came down to that?
Yeah, no, we're always prepared to pick. And if we pick at 25, we're going to get a good football player. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get a good player if we pick at 25. So, and if we don't pick at 25, then wherever we pick next or whenever we do pick, we think we're going to get a pretty good player.
First off, to whoever asked that question, I've been there. I feel for you. You're asking something. The words just aren't quite coming out. I did cut out some of Nick Caserio's answer there because I just wanted to play those 2 parts at the very end for effect. So that's what Nick Caserio said. But what was happening underneath that skin? What was the exoskeleton, the T-1000 version of Nick Caserio saying?
All the meat bags that I collect in the NFL draft are dogs. As you foolish humans so often say. Speaking of speaking, get to the point with that quote-unquote question.
Okay, that was a long question. A long question that was asked there by that guy. So Nick Caserio, the robo version of him, says, I find dogs. I collect dogs.
Okay.
Little problematic that he's calling humans meat bags still. We figured it's 2025. He's going to stop calling humans by slurs.
We should probably get that in the next update patch Just like, I mean, hey, last update, he's getting pretty snippy with the quote unquote questions.
Right, exactly. But no talk about a robot revolution there. Here is Nick Caserio later in the press conference being asked about the offensive line. I don't think he enjoyed this question. There were lots of offensive line related questions.
Nick, you spoke about, how the changes on the offensive line, they were case by case basis, but given the fact that you all had so many changes, do you feel like you have to leave this draft by at least touching on the offensive line at all?
Yeah, like we feel we got to add good football players to our football team. I mean, that's what we're focused on. So whatever those positions entail, then that's how it's going to work. So, I mean, that's how we approach it. That's how we're going to handle it. So we'll see how it all goes next week.
Don't you love how he just says, we're going to draft a player with that answer, and he doesn't even focus on the offensive line? I wouldn't either. I'd redirect as much as I can. You don't want to tip your hand at all. The Texans are expected, for what it's worth, to draft an offensive lineman with that first pick if they still have that first pick. We heard from Daniel Jeremiah with Todd McShay and with Ryan Russillo on the Ryan Russillo podcast that the Texans are looking at two guys, Tyler Booker from Alabama, a guard, Kelvin Banks Jr., a tackle out of Texas. Anyway, what was Nick Caserio really thinking underneath his skin and inside the metal cold heart about that question?
If only we could use actual Terminators on the offensive line instead of a false start machine and a bust machine. An offensive line group of fashionistas instead of burly beasts. What a waste.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like he liked the offensive line group from last year. A bust machine, a false start machine. He'd rather have burly beasts. Again, watch the lingo. Watch the lingo.
Fashionistas.
Right, fashionistas, yeah. I mean, they are well dressed.
They are.
Larry
They are.
Tunsil.
And I am blown away by Skynet's added vocabulary for this, this year's Caserio.
He's
pod.
assimilating, and no talk of a robot revolution there either.
No, we must be doing all right as a human race.
This is where Nick Caserio, now I'm no longer certain that he is a robot, because Nick was being fun in this press conference. He was asked a question by Big Sarge Sports, and he gave a sassy little answer.
Nick, you said you've made some mistakes in the past. I'm not going to ask you about those mistakes. I'm just going to ask you.
Oh, you guys talk about them all the time. So.
You know, a little chuckle.
Earned chuckle.
Yeah, it was.
That was a good one. And that one I don't think we need robots or we don't need to feed it through the translator.
I think you're right.
That was crystal clear.
Crystal clear. He's becoming self-aware. So there you go, guys. That is Robo Caserio.